my
Triangulation.
gosh.
I think it's triangulation.
These were the opening moves to the clash between Magnus Carlsen with white and Alireza Firouzja with black. He stands up at this point and announces Ich bin ein Berliner. Vladimir Kramnik licking his lips because this is the rock solid Berlin defense which Kramnik made famous when he drew with Kasparov game after game. This is Norway Chess, however. They're coming off a rest day, nice and fresh. They warmed up the fingers, they're ready to go. Over the board chess, Magnus Carlsen's, and now we get takes on e4. We're going into the Berlin endgame with queens off the board if Magnus goes d4. But instead, he goes for this rook e1 line, drives back the knight, which hits the bishop. Does Magnus move it? No. He takes on e5, muttering YOLO under his breath, and Alireza doesn't take the bishop. Why not? Well, if you do, you're getting absolutely sizzled with these discoveries, losing your lady. So bishop e7 blocks the open file, and Magnus retreats his sniper, saying a little whoosh as he does so, as the top pros do when they make those long sweeping moves. Now the knight drops off the board. Rook recaptures, castles, d4, bishop f6, rook 5, bishop 3, therefore it retreats, rook e8, challenging the only open file on the board. Open files like commodities, the less of them they are, the rarer they are, the more important they become. So c3 from Magnus. He lets Alireza chop on e1, queen recaptures, and now that knight on d6 is a dead pony. Needs moving out of the way, shuffles back all the way home, needs to recycle, and now you can go bishop f4. A lot of theory there. d5 playable, very symmetrical stuff. g6 played, knight g7, bishop f5, etc. We get mass trades. Magnus and Hans made a very quick draw there in a titled Tuesday recently. But this time, Magnus goes pawn d5, stopping Alireza from pushing forward with d5 himself. So that's why queen e7. Magnus declines a queen exchange. It makes him shudder. The endgame goat loves playing without the ladies on the board, but here it's best. Alireza goes b6. He wants to get after that d5 pawn with his bishop, and if you ever go c4, well, what a monster that one becomes. So a4 from Magnus. Excellent chess. Yes, not developing yet, but there are some more important goals. He wants to push on. You can't allow that. So Alireza goes a5 here. Full Gandalf on the bridge of Khazad-dûm. You shall not pass. Magnus Carlsen, and now knight a3. Why would Magnus put his knight on the rim? It's dim. Well, it's re-entering the game via c4. And you leave the bishop's eyes open. So we get bishop b7, targeting the centre, knight c4, ideas now of pushing on, smashing up the structure, and the top move of the Silicon Chief is to go knight d6. But for some reason, Alireza doesn't play it. Something about the variation he didn't like. Instead, he goes bishop g5, but Magnus has something now to nibble on. Not literally, metaphorically, though the players do get hungry from time to time. These are long games. Magnus pushes d6, smashing up the structure. The queen's about to be taken, so Alireza takes that pawn, and Magnus slips this one in, doing another swoosh sound. Alireza recaptures, and now we get knight takes on d6. The pawn structure a mess. Magnus with just ever such a slight thing now to play with. The boa constrictor wants to go to work. 2 pawns hit, so that's why bishop c6. Holds on to this one and of course intercepts the attack here. Magnus now brings the rook to the open file. Now you can take on a4 with the dark squared bishop here, or light squared bishop I should say. But then b6 drops and it's the base of the pawn chain. Aaron Nimzovich talked about the importance of the base of a pawn chain. So ideally you don't want that one to collapse. So Alireza correctly doesn't take on a4, but he doesn't find the best idea. h6, a little more precise apparently. keep the ladies on for a bit longer. But queen f6 played, a very ugly move, makes you wince a bit, and after Magnus takes, he can't resist that one, saddling Alireza with the double f's. Well, here, despite the pawn structure being worse and Magnus being better, it should be technically holdable for black with best play, but Magnus now starts going to work. We get pawn b3, defending a4. Now rook b8, looking for b5. So Magnus goes to clamp down, sets up the famous camel toe pawn formation there, and now you can go king f8 to stop this rook invasion, which we soon see, but then Magnus goes f3. He brings the king out. He's got ideas of rook c1 and push c5. He's holding the cards here. So instead, Alireza goes d5, is the top engine move, and Magnus now gets the invasion going. He's looking for rook c7, a bit uncomfortable. And Alireza now, he's ahead on the clock, but watch the time. He spends 40 minutes here going rook to c8 to stop Magnus's rook c7. What's going through his head? An inordinate amount of time on that. Rook c8 was fine, or rook b7, but this one selected, and it allows Magnus to now go f3, prepare to bring the king in. He's got a little something to play with. We get d takes on c4. The bishop comes streaming out, pressure on f7, and we don't see bishop e8. Super passive. The rook comes to b7 behind the pawn. Rook f8, again, hugely passive, just untenable. So instead, Alireza takes on a4. Great move here. You take me, I take you, so Magnus takes with a check. King f8 hits two pieces, and rook b7 looks really natural. Going after this pawn here, but then there's bishop c6 with tempo against the rook, and you can't take, or you leave the protection. So Magnus slides all the way to the left. Now the black bishop has to move, comes back to b5, and h4 from Magnus. He's grinding like a grandma. Him and David Howell, famous for doing so. What a book they released. And now rook c5 from Alireza. Stops bishop d5, and also upon bishop e6, you've got rook e5, pressuring, then looking for rook e7. So here Magnus goes king f2, rook c2 check, king g3, the rook comes to e2, and rook e7 is a threat. Big threat. Then black's even a little better in the endgame. You know, this is a 2-on-1. The pawn's on a light square. Could be targeted one day. Obviously not from this square. So Magnus goes rook b7, and he's just in time. If rook e7 now, well, you take on b6, and you're hitting the bishop. So that's why bishop d3. Now Magnus needs to take care of his own bishop before he can munch on b6. So he plays bishop c4. We see an exchange. Pawn recaptures. Rook c2. It's all natural stuff, but Magnus that step ahead. Alireza covers the pawn here. Magnus comes behind the a-pawn. We see this liquidation. Rook recaptures, and Magnus has got the one extra pawn. Can he get the job done here? Can he grind it out? And don't think just because I'm showing the game, it means Magnus wins. As you know, I cover endless Magnus games in a desperate bid to become a YouTube chess superstar. I'd still bring you a draw here. Don't assume the result. Rook c7 played, king g4, king g6, and now we see h5 check on the board. Driving back the black monarch, king f5, pawn h6, the structure selected by Alireza. Nothing wrong with it. The game is technically a draw, but Magnus massaging Alireza. He takes out the en passant candle, lights it, lights are dimmed. He's giving the old karate chop across Alireza's Gucci shirt shoulders, but now there's a chess endgame to be won. The massage must stop. He pushes the rook into g4, and they go to shuffle town now. We see a lot of rook and king moves here. Nothing materially changes. Magnus Carlsen humming the party rockers under his breath. Every day he's shuffling. The pawns slowly advance, but he's not really going anywhere. We get a few more moves on the board. We're approaching move 60. The clock is running down low, and once we get to move 64, the number of squares on the board here, rook b7 played, this is where Magnus changes the structure with pawn f5. Sets up a symmetry, but he's still got this one in reserve. Now we get rook c7. The king marches in. Rook e7 check and king d4 on its way to enemy territory, and king c5. It crosses the demilitarized zone, across the barricades, into the enemy position, and it reaches d6 behind enemy lines. Pressure on Alireza. It is still a draw, but he's got to prove it. We get check. The king driven to the back rank here, and now you can go rook h7, look to munch this pawn, but Magnus comes up with something different. Alireza, after rook b7, waiting by Magnus, takes on g4, best move, and now Magnus marches in with the king. Of course, the king is no longer cut when the pawn dropped. And here's his point. After Alireza slides away, preparing to check, Magnus now goes rook d7. He's in a position to block the check. Alireza therefore goes rook a1. Magnus gobbles up the pawn. We get this check here now that the rook and king are no longer connected. And after king e5, rook b6 waiting, good defensive chess, rook d6 from Magnus. Alireza has a shocker. He's under pressure. We're what, 77 moves in. What he should do here is slide away with rook b1, not trade the rooks, because after rook b1, yes, Magnus can win a second pawn, but the king gets close. It's on the short side. This king is going to get checked forever, the white one, and this is why you just can't make proper progress. Because if you go too far from the pawn, the rook comes behind. Of course, you can't push. This is dropping. This is under lock and key for now. Black just can't let white make progress. Sorry, say it the other way around. White just can't make progress. That was the way to go. But the rooks were swapped. This is where we get the absolute shock of the commentators. They can't believe what they're seeing.
Oh my
Triangulation.
gosh.
But black simply is going to have to give way, and there we go. Firouzja resigns in shock.
He knows he blew it.
Because this endgame's now dead lost, as we're going to see. It's simple stuff for these kind of 2800 level guys, right? Here we see Alireza throw in the towel. Why? Well, the moment he steps in, Magnus can basically, I mean, let's go here. We're going to show some lines, show the basic idea. You can either force something like this, where you cut everything off, force the king away, and the pawn goes through. Or the moment Alireza steps in, then you step in here, you stops the way, and now he has to give ground, and you step in and you mop up, and two pawns are running. Different ways to win it, but it's just completely lost. Magnus with the opposition. That's how the game ended. Magnus gets it done. Ding Luzen sadly lost again. Really feel for the guy. Hikaru's gone number 2 in the world now because Prague beat Fabi. What a day of bloodshed. Norway Chess. 3 classical results. Smash subscribe if you love these videos. Really helps me out. And check out the video on screen for another epic game of chess. Thanks a lot for watching and see you soon.